Sophie loved wandering through antique shops, fascinated by the stories that lay hidden in every old object. One rainy afternoon, she found herself in a little shop at the end of a narrow alley, tucked away from the bustling city streets. The sign over the door read Curiosities and Wonders, and it seemed like a place that held more secrets than it let on. As Sophie browsed the shelves filled with dusty trinkets, faded books, and peculiar statues, her attention was drawn to a large, ornate mirror at the back of the shop. It was beautiful, with an intricately carved frame of twisting vines and strange, almost lifelike animals that seemed to watch her with their glassy eyes. But what caught her attention the most was her reflection, or rather, what was different about it. In the mirror, the shop looked different. The dim lighting was replaced by a soft, warm glow, and the shelves were filled with bright, colorful objects she hadn't seen before. Sophie blinked, but her reflection stayed the same. The mirror was showing her a different version of the shop, almost as if it belonged to another time. Intrigued, Sophie reached out to touch the mirror. The moment her fingers brushed the glass, a ripple spread across the surface, and she felt a pull, like the mirror was drawing her in. Before she knew it, she was standing inside the reflected version of the shop. The air was thick with the scent of old parchment and lavender, and the room was bathed in a golden light. She looked around, feeling a strange sense of familiarity mixed with awe. Everything seemed brighter, more vivid, as though she had stepped into a dream. Then, from behind a shelf, an elderly woman appeared, her eyes twinkling with a knowing smile. "Ah, you found the mirror," she said, her voice soft yet powerful. Sophie nodded, unsure of what to say. What is this place?" The woman chuckled. "This is a world between worlds, a place for those who seek something beyond the ordinary." As Sophie explored the shop, the woman explained that the mirror was enchanted, a gateway to a place where people's deepest desires and fears could manifest. She told Sophie that many people had passed through the mirror, each seeking answers to questions they hadn't even realized they were asking. Sophie felt a thrill of excitement mixed with caution. She had always felt a longing for something more, something magical, but now that she was here, she wasn't sure what she was looking for. "Each person sees something different in the mirror," the woman continued. "What you find here depends on what you truly seek." Sophie turned to the shelves, her fingers brushing over objects that seemed to hum with energy. She found a small, silver locket, a feather that shimmered in different colors, and an old book with a lock on it. Each item called to her in a different way, but none of them felt quite right. Then she noticed a door at the back of the shop, one that hadn't been there before. She glanced at the woman, who nodded, as if giving her permission to explore further. Sophie walked toward the door, her heart pounding. As she opened it, she stepped into a garden bathed in moonlight, filled with flowers that glowed softly in the darkness. In the center of the garden stood a fountain, its water sparkling like stardust. And there, reflected in the water, she saw another version of herself, a Sophie who looked more confident, more radiant, almost as if she had found a part of herself that had been missing. The reflection smiled, and Sophie felt a surge of warmth and strength. She realized that this version of herself was what she had been searching for, her true self, unburdened by doubt and fear. As she stood there, the woman's voice echoed in her mind. "The mirror shows you what you need, not what you want. Remember that." With a sense of peace, Sophie returned to the shop, where the woman awaited her. "Did you find what you were looking for?" the woman asked. Sophie nodded, a soft smile on her lips. "Yes, I think I did." The woman's eyes sparkled with approval. "Then it's time to return." Sophie glanced back at the mirror, knowing that the experience would stay with her forever. She stepped through, back into the dimly lit antique shop, where everything looked as it had before, ordinary, yet somehow changed. As she left the shop, she glanced back, but the sign over the door had disappeared. The shop was gone, leaving only an empty alley behind.